first of a series of public forums for this.
Want me to close the door for noise?
What?
Probably, yeah. We do have microphones, but it's still better if we have a little less noise in the background. Thanks again for coming. My name is Vince Kola. I'm chair of the Democratic Party of Monterey County. Really glad to see all of you. And I want to thank the candidates for being here tonight and for running for office. Put your hands out there. So that's a hand right there. We're going to do this. We have 1 hour slots. So this is District 4. We're going to do this in 1 hour. The way it's going to work is each candidate gets 2 minutes for an opening statement. We have a series of questions that are timed at 1 minute. There might be a question here or there where we say, take 2, because you probably can't answer it in one. Not that you can answer any of these questions in 1 minute, but brevity is a virtue here tonight anyway. And then we will do closing statements, 1 minute closing statements. So that when we reach about 7:35, which is 7:25, sorry, so that by 7:30 we can switch and go to District 5. Jay,
Suggest everybody turn your cell phones off or at least silence them.
All right, that's a very good cause. Take conversations outside. My job is to keep it friendly. I will escort hecklers outside. We have an ironclad rule here. No projectiles. We know this is what kind of gathering this is. I'm not really worried. Let's see. Any other housekeeping? The restrooms are in the back there. Let us know if the temperature's not right. We can adjust that within reason. And of course, I want to thank the people who've helped make this possible. Our moderator tonight is Regina Gage, Secretary of the Central Committee. Our timekeeper, Linda Loomis. So she is going to tell you whether to wrap it up. You have to turn it this way, though.
No, I'm sure.
Are you sure to these guys as well? All right, you guys know what it says. Okay, wrap it up at 60 seconds, or that's 30 seconds before the end. And then stop now is the
I'll put your
time.
heads.
All right, so we are pleased to have with us Dennis Donahue, businessman, former mayor of the city of Salinas. Alex Miller, resident here of Seaside and independent contractor. Jane Parker, the incumbent member of the Board of Supervisors, currently chair of the Board of Supervisors of Monterey County. And let's see, are we all good? How's our time? Yes, we are. 2 minutes in. Are you ready? Yes. Right. So we're good for opening statements? There's an odd sound here coming out. It's not that microphone. Do you want to turn one off? Or we're getting, it's not the microphone, I think we're getting interference from another. No, I think it's, unfortunately, I think it's an interference from another external source. So we could use this microphone. Can we do that? Yes. Well, does that reach? Because then we can turn that off. Let me turn that off and see. All right. I'm going to use that one.
There's a cord that might be.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. All right. Yeah, for the opening statement.
For the opening statement, we'll go in alphabetical order, so this down.
All right, 2 minutes.
Good evening. Good to be with you this evening. My name is Dennis Donahue, and I am a candidate for the 4th Supervisorial District. I am running to have hopefully the honor to continue the work. I was fortunate to begin with the community of Salinas with a primary focus on a more economic, vital city and a more peaceful city. My priorities are to focus on economic vitality. I am going to work hard to promote policies that support healthy families and communities. And number 3, I think it is terribly important to have a very focused and aggressive attitude to try and unify the county, as I worked to try and do when I was the mayor of Salinas. I think I bring to that work a couple of things. A political leadership that will be more focused specifically on the needs of District 4. I think I'm terribly proud of the fact that 4 out of the 5 mayors stood by my side when I announced my candidacy, indicating that the cities felt that they needed a different partner at the county. I believe I offer a background that is more, in terms of my personal background, business, educational, government, and nonprofit, that is collaborative in nature, and it is in fact how communities move forward today, and I hope to have the honor to serve the district in general.
Good evening. My name is Alex Miller, and I'm a Seaside resident. When I was a kid, my parents made sure that I was involved in the community and supported the youth of the community. At a young age, I instituted a kids' Easter egg hunt at a community park where I brought the prize for the winner. Now that has turned into a 500-kid Easter egg hunt. I'm running for the board because I want to implement new ideas to our struggling community. The current supervisors are in a rut. They aren't thinking creatively to solve the problems, and our biggest problem is crime. The sheriff and the district attorney have the wrong priorities, and we can change that with their budget. Because their priorities are wrong, we aren't giving the proper resources to our youth. Instead, we are currently charging minor offenses and wasting our county's money in the sheriff and the district attorney. As you can see from the numbers, Monterey County has doubled in murders in the last 10 years, and the real focus in our county has been lost. We have to be very careful with new development, as they need to be responsible development that include parks, playgrounds, and stuff for our youth to keep occupied. Since this week is Sunshine Week, we need open discussion regarding water, the water issues, including the desalination plant, the pipeline between the two lakes, major lakes in the county, and other water policies. Again, I am running so we can change priorities, to get the crime rate down, to have more transparency, and lastly, to make sure Fort Ward has parks and playgrounds for our future kids. Thank you.
My name is Jane Parker, and I want to thank the Democratic Central Committee for the opportunity to be here tonight, and for your past support. I hope to be able to earn your endorsement once again on this campaign. I'm proud of my involvement with the Democratic clubs and the Democratic Central Committee over the last several years, in fact, decades. And I'm proud of the democratic values that I've promoted while I've been in office. I've been a champion for transparency and accountability. I've worked hard to bring health care expansion in advance of the Affordable Care Act, and now working to spread health care coverage to those who are left out of the Affordable Care Act. Been working effectively on violence prevention throughout the county. I've convened the cities and the county and nonprofit housing builders to focus on creating affordable housing in our county. And I've been an advocate for smart growth, which protects our natural resources and maximizes the economic benefits to our community. I'm also proud of promoting democratic values all my life. When I was very young, I was promoting farm workers' right to organize for fair wages and decent working conditions. I was marching for civil rights and for peace in Vietnam. I worked for women's reproductive rights for many years, and I served on the Monterey Peninsula College Board of Trustees, really with a focus on education for the community. There's more to do in all the areas I've mentioned. We're not done, and we need to go further. I'm committed to governing for racial equity, training all of us at the county level to go beyond our good intentions to fair and equitable results in our communities. I look forward to the questions and hope to earn your endorsement once again.
right. So the first question is, actually the first three questions are 1-minute questions, and Supervisor Parker, the first question goes to you, and then we'll just rotate in order. In 2014 in Monterey County, 1 in 4 children grew up in poverty. Has the Board of Supervisors done enough to address this issue? What have you done to work towards a reduction?
The county has many safety net programs in place. It's one of the mandated functions of the county. But waiting until people have fallen through the cracks and are in poverty is not enough. One of the focal points that I have been working on is early childhood development. What we know is that to have a productive and resilient workforce, we need to invest in the 0 to 3 population. There is so much more that the county needs to be doing to support families and young children and youth. The county is partnering with the CSUMB's Cradle to Career initiative. I think those collective impact models are going to be able to make a difference over time. It took us quite a while to get to this point where we have such a high poverty rate, and it's going to take us a while to get out. But I really look forward to working with the community as well as with county departments to address this issue.
Mr. Miller?
Monterey County, yes, does have a very high poverty rate. As just the question stated, and this county has the lowest social services available out of any county in California. Let me repeat it again. This county has one of the lowest social services for the people of the county. When the supervisors come to you and say they're working hard, it is a blatant lie. They're not working hard. In fact, they're not focused on social issues and social programs that can help youth develop, not from age 0 to 3, but from age 0 to 18. That is where we need to focus, and on the youth, and we need to get our social programs up in Monterey County and start helping the poverty problem and start helping the main issues of poverty in Monterey County.
My focus from day one as the mayor of Salinas was working to expand our tax base and create economic opportunity for the entire city, with a particular focus on young people. I'll just simply mention 2 things that I'm very proud of, because the key to move out of poverty is opportunity and education. So one of the things we worked very hard on in Salinas is we got the Cesar Chavez Library expanded. We made it a point to get a library card to every public school student in the city. And the other thing that I want to mention is our work with the Silicon Valley on the Ag Tech Initiative had a real focus on coding, which is tomorrow's literacy. So reading and coding are the 2 keys to the future to create a path out of poverty for the next generation.
And Mr. Miller, you'll start with the next question, which is also 1 minute. Land use decisions in Monterey County for decades have been described as battles between those who want to protect the environment on one side and those who want to protect jobs on the other. How do you see it? And what are smart land use decisions for you?
The land use decision in Monterey County is just one of the most important parts of District 4, especially with the vast land on Fort Ord. And the issues of this question are specifically directed towards the supervisor for District 4, because there's so much development, so much land use question on Fort Ord. Like I've said, and I'm focused on our youth and our crime rate, and the fact that we are on the top 5 counties with crime rate in California for the last 4 years says something to me, and the numbers do not lie. They show exactly where we are with crime. So in terms of land use, we not only need to have proper development, but a reasonable development, reasonable accommodations for our youth, projects for our youth to get involved with, not just big businesses coming in, making a lot of money on houses. Instead, we need parks, community organization, land use that really solves our problem.
I think the county, from a political and from a staff standpoint, has been overly preoccupied with land use. And I think that speaks into the narrative that there's a fundamental conflict between environment and economy, and I don't believe there is. In fact, I think the new narrative needs to be that economy and environment go hand in hand, and that combination is our best opportunity for preserving our quality of life, but also having economic vitality. As it stands right now, in my view of land use is that it needs to be common sense and it needs to be consistent. The reality is a lot of projects have been approved, but the appropriate infrastructure is held up. So as it stands right now, District 4 is at a fork in the road. It can continue to be the choke point of the county, or it can be the future crossroads of the county.
I appreciate Mr. Donahue echoing what I've been trying to do over the last at least 7 or 8 years, which is to shift the dialogue from the fractious, everybody go to their corner, environmentalists versus development folks. What we have been trying to do, certainly at the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, is hold symposia, really try to bring a level of education to the community that, and I think the Fort Ord is the prime place where we can show the power of the kind of development that protects the environment, has the least impact on the environment, and maximizes the economic benefits, creating the kinds of walkable, mixed-use communities that are envisioned on the former Fort Ord are precisely the most economically beneficial for the jurisdictions, and that is what is envisioned by the base reuse plan. It also makes sure that jobs and housing are closer together than we currently see.
The next question is for Mr. Donahue. This is also a 1-minute question. What is your position on fracking in Monterey County?
We're not doing it.
You're next.
When the question of possibly issuing a moratorium on fracking came to the Board of Supervisors, I was an advocate that we needed to take the time to have a timeout in Monterey County on fracking and develop our own regulations. The state is very slowly pulling some regulations together that appear to be, they're being done backwards. They're going to issue the regulations while the environmental impact analysis is going on, and then maybe they will change the regulations once the environmental impact has been done. That's just a recipe for disaster. So I am very concerned about the damage that fracking could cause in Monterey County, and I think it doesn't belong here. We need to be focusing on renewable energy and not looking forward instead of backwards.
Here in the most beautiful place in California, I'm strongly opposed to fracking and creating an environmental aspect that fracking brings to our community. We need to implement policies that are going to be more environmental friendly and not so invasive to the environment, so I am against fracking.
Thank you. So the next question is,
I'm supposed to answer the question first.
oh, I'm sorry, that's fine. Oh, thank you.
I'm just trying to.
It'll take me 2 minutes to ask the question.
Just go ahead.
So it's a 2-minute question for all of you to answer. Monterey County is projecting a $16 million budget deficit for next year. If you are re-elected, A, what positions would you try to save or cut? And B, what avenues would you pursue to increase revenues to the county?
$16 million is a lot of money. In the county budget, it's about 1.5% of the overall budget. $16 million shifts one way or another have happened before, and they will happen again. The primary driver of this particular challenge is that insurance rates went up quite a bit, and the county's benefits package is a strong, generous package. And so that's going to cost the county a good deal of money going forward. So what we have done in the past, and I think it's a good strategy going forward, is to really look very carefully at the vacancies that we do have. Do we really need to fill certain positions? Not in a willy-nilly blanket way, but to really look carefully at the positions that should be filled. We really try to focus on maintaining and creating the kinds of jobs that bring revenue to the county. There are, so that's a priority. And as I say, we've been through this before, and so the staff is fairly familiar with the drill. In terms of bringing more money to the county, there are limited means by which we can really do that. The best recipe for the county is to make sure that cities are successful, that we're attracting the economic development to the cities as well as to the county, and really focusing on that powerful land use pattern that really brings in maximum revenue.
One of the foundations for my campaign is budget and budget issues, and we can see how the budget is having issues every year, it seems. And especially last year, I watched the Board of Supervisors approve a $2 million raise to the district attorney, as his department was one of the preceding government agencies in our county that's a prosecutor for the crimes. We aren't getting the results from the prosecutor, and he wants more money. And the supervisors continue to give more money to agencies that are failing. And we don't need to give more money to the agencies that are failing. We need to keep their budget the same and allow them to work with the budget that they currently have. If we have the district attorney has such a high rate of homicide and high crimes in our area, we need to keep his budget the same, not give him raises and increases for the great job that he has done. The other part of this is if we're going to bring money into this county, we need to invest in CSU Monterey Bay. When I started at CSU Monterey, we had 1,000 students, and now the school is over 4,000 students. If we continue to invest in the progress of CSU Monterey Bay, this school has a potential to really have a large number of students, bring economic growth to our county, bring economic growth to Marina, economic growth to Fort Ord, economic growth to Seaside, and we can do that through investing in Fort Ord and Fort Ord's future, and making and CSUMB's future, as well as creating and giving CSUMB the pathway to have more students in our area and increase our economic value.
When you're up against such a short-term wall as the supervisor indicated, the reality is she's right. You know the drill, you know what your near-term moves are. But the simple fact is that also speaks to a structural challenge in terms of how do you grow your economic base. Yes, it is correct that our near-term moves are to be more supportive of cities for Monterey Business Council objectives, but that needs to be a reality, and there's been an overemphasis of the environment at the expense of the economy. But the reality is we need some additional industries, and we need to be looking at job/career creation. And I would suggest there are three areas we ought to be looking at: cyber, global investment, and healthcare. We need new industries, we need new economic vitality to come side by side with what we're currently doing, and we also need to be supportive. CSUMB is important because of new initiatives such as the Aquaculture Center, which dovetails nicely into a lot of the Ag Tech initiative. But the bottom line is we need to be looking for more high-paying jobs and new industries, so attraction, retention, job creation is critical to begin to work out over the budget issue over time. But near term, the supervisor's right. You've got to budgets require you when you have to balance them by law. Help me make it through the night, so get through July 1.
All right. And Mr. Miller, this question will begin with you. And if at any time you need me to repeat the question, please don't hesitate to ask. This is a 2-minute question. 2 in a row, 2 minutes. Monterey County government is the largest employer in the county with about 4,000 employees. How do you ensure, as a member of the board, that its many agencies operate effectively? What would you do to ensure a high level of performance?
All it takes is to sit through one supervisor meeting to answer this question, and we saw it this morning at 10 o'clock. We see it every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Unions after unions and the workers in the county and county workers coming in and complaining about the understaffing, the under budget, the underperformance of our groups. Once again, we need to invest in social services and invest in our county and invest in things that are going to make our county a better place and a safer place for everybody in this room. And we need each of the agencies and each of the department within the Monterey Bay, we need each of them to be efficient and also be staffed. And from what I hear and the complaints that I hear from the departments within our county is the staffing issue. And I watched a report last week to the supervisors and in which they suggested that we put a hiring freeze on agencies within Monterey. And these agencies and departments are telling the supervisors the exact opposite. They're begging for more staff, they're begging for more resources, they're begging for more employees. So in reality, when we look at the departments, we need to look at closely how we can improve the departments and work with the departments as the board should be working with the departments instead of against the departments.
I'm going to quickly answer the question, but I'm just going to throw an oar in the water. While I disagree with the incumbent in terms of focus and direction, I don't agree for a moment that the current Board of Supervisors that they do work hard, they try and do the best they can with the information they have. So the issue of a hard-working, knowledgeable board, I just frankly think that ought to be off the table. These are difficult financial times. These are thorny challenges in terms of how you balance a budget short term, but ultimately, so the ability to focus and work more strategically and aggressive with better outcomes and better staffs and social services flows from expanding your tax base. And that's why, respectfully, my area of emphasis and focus, while it differs, and it does differ, in my view, from the incumbent, that's where the sense of urgency needs to be. That's where the emphasis needs to be. But very, very frankly, as we proceed through the next several months, the chair works hard. She's knowledgeable. I simply disagree. But I know the 5 people who sit on that dais, and they work hard to do the best they can with a difficult situation. So as far as I'm concerned, that ought to go off the table.
The question was about how to create a high-performing workforce. Yes, so one of the things that the board has been doing in the last several years is meeting together in a strategic planning retreat with department heads to set priorities for the year. And when I arrived, one of the first things I did was I asked that we, as the Board of Supervisors, we have 5 people who report directly to us, that we make sure that we are doing their performance evaluations on an annual basis. That had not been the case. You cannot manage an organization like the county unless you really are having feedback and goals and a way of conversing in a meaningful way with your top staff. In addition, we started a system of performance measures for all of the departments related to the strategic initiatives and related to their priorities as departments. Slowly, that is working its way through the organization. It's a complete culture shift to have performance measures and to evaluate the quality of the work that you're doing. Most governments don't do it, many businesses don't do it, but I think when employees can see and measure and evaluate the power and effectiveness of the work they're doing every day, it's a positive feedback loop. Some of the other things that I think help increase productivity and high performance is really being sensitive to the workforce's families and work-life balance, having flexible work schedules, looking at leaves and doing that sort of thing. And then I'll just say, actually what we need also is more women in leadership. When women are in top positions of leadership, there's higher productivity, better return on investment, and greater employee retention.
This is a 1-minute question, and Mr. Donahue, we start with you. The Monterey Peninsula has 2 votes on the Board of Supervisors, and so makes up a minority of votes. What would you do to build a majority on the board on an issue where coastal Monterey County is frequently outnumbered?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Shall I repeat it?
Who has 2 votes?
The Monterey Peninsula
Okay.
has 2 votes on the Board of Supervisors, and so makes up a minority of votes. What would you do to build a majority on the board on an issue where coastal Monterey County is frequently outnumbered?
You know, frankly, I disagree with the premise. First of all, districts 5, 4, and 2, whatever Judge Phillips' district is, are coastal. The simple fact there are 5 districts. Each district has its own intrinsic characteristics, which I think it's important to represent the priorities of the residents, but with a clear understanding that everyone understands this is a unique county. And I think my experience has always been that properly motivated public officials weigh information carefully and fairly and think on behalf of the entire county. But from where I sit, there's at least 3 touching the bay if it's a geographical question.
I think the question of making sure that all parts of the county their interests are fairly represented, it really has to do with relationship building and really having the best interests of the general public in mind. There probably are issues where different parts of the geographic county have different perspectives, but I think that's an opportunity for us as leaders to listen, to try to work through what some of the differences are, find the common ground, and to really work on the ways that we can do what's best for the broader community. My focus is always how can I do the greatest good for the greatest number of people over the greatest number of years. And I think if you have that attitude, and I think my colleagues usually do, there are ways to work these issues through.
Could you kindly repeat the question?
Absolutely. The Monterey Peninsula has 2 votes on the Board of Supervisors, and so makes up a minority of votes. What would you do to build a majority on the board on an issue where coastal Monterey County is frequently outnumbered?
I disagree with the question as well. I don't think that the coastal cities are outnumbered. I think everybody on the Board of Supervisors works hard and understands that we live in one of the most beautiful places in California. So I disagree that the coast is outnumbered. I watch the supervisor meetings, and I watch how they handle our environment, and they handle it with a lot of sensitivity, and they've done a wonderful job. The incumbent and the chair has done phenomenal things for the environment, especially for the coast. I commend her for all the work she's done in protecting our shores and protecting the ocean. Living here and seeing the ocean every day is the #1 thing that I love about Monterey County. So the fact that we are protecting it is a wonderful thing. So to say that 2 of the 5 supervisors represent the coast, I disagree with.
We have a quick announcement. There's a blue Honda CRV out back that's blocking an emergency exit, so if you would kindly move it a little bit.
It's me.
And the next question.
All right. And Supervisor Parker, the next question is for you, a 1-minute question. Monterey County is one of the least affordable places to live in the nation, and places of work and affordable housing are often far apart. In very concrete terms, what have you done to make housing more affordable or to reduce the length of commute in Monterey County?
Well, I don't think I've got the problem solved yet. But what I have done is, we have had a problem of a deficit, a shortfall of affordable housing, particularly affordable rentals, for decades. And we really haven't gotten together as a community to solve the problem. And so what I have done is I have convened most of the cities in Monterey County, the county itself, with affordable housing, nonprofit housing builders to identify sites within their jurisdictions where they might be able to do mixed use or relatively, moderate-sized affordable housing development. And we have a memorandum of agreement to cooperate, and we're really moving forward. We're not waiting for someone else to come do it for us. We're really looking at how we can move this forward now. It'll still take some time.
The idea of affordable housing is so crucial to the Monterey Bay. I've seen similar prices in other counties, surrounding counties to us, that have a lot more industry. For example, in San Jose and Monterey have similar comparable house prices, yet there's a lot more industry in San Jose. So people here, the citizens here, have less opportunity for industry, but they're suffering the same high price properties. And on my property, I paid a high price on my property, and I know my neighbors did as well. And so we need to work forward and try to reduce that and get reasonable and affordable housing on Fort Ord and in and around Monterey County. We need to work with homeowners who rent their properties, get vouchers for the different sections for people in low income. We need to work harder than the supervisors are working now to get people into homes, and especially homeless people in, and I know this question is not about the homeless, but we have a huge homeless issue that's arising now, and we need to address those concerns.
When I first became the mayor of Salinas, the Salinas area had the lowest per capita income and the highest per capita housing cost in the country. So before the economy collapsed too new, our priority was to increase our available housing stock with good inclusionary housing elements, the future growth area. So we got the future growth area through in Salinas. So I can only speak to my experience as a mayor. The second thing we did, we worked hard on downtown revitalization, and as you see today, if you look at downtown Salinas, you're now starting to see apartment units being built downtown, so mixed-use types of projects are important and to be emphasized. And then the other thing we did, as the city has done, continues to do, is work closely with organizations like CHISPA, and then I think I and everyone on my councils we're all very proud of the work we did with CDBG funds in terms of particular types of housing for those who could least afford housing. So those are the three things I was involved with.
You can't take this mic anymore. Mr. Miller, you begin with this question, another 1 minute. Monterey County Democrats have declared an explicit goal to increase the number of women in elected office. The Board of Supervisors currently has only one woman. Why should we not support a female candidate in this race? I'm just asking a question. Oh, I guess I should let you answer.
That's an easy question. That is an easy question. The incumbent has the highest, this current Board of Supervisors, in the last 4 years, we have been on the top 5 for murder rate, homicide rate. It is not safe in her district. In Seaside, in Salinas, people are not safe. Sunday night, 2 people were shot. It's a continuous theme. and the supervisor and the current incumbent is not working towards solving that problem that we have. Yes, gender does play a significant part in politics, and we all know the presidential candidate and how gender is playing a part in the American system. I support either candidate. Gender does not matter to me. I want to see results in this county, and I want this county to see a better perspective than what we have now. We need to work towards reducing crime. We need to work towards supporting our youth, giving our youth money, and that's why the current supervisors is not working.
Elections are about choices and issues, and the reality is I was everybody's mayor, I will be everybody's supervisor, and most folks I know, that's exactly how they look at it. I know my daughter certainly does. And the reality is Monterey County, District 4 have a great track record of being open to the best candidate. So the current incumbent, 2 out of her 3 predecessors were women. So the simple fact is, in District 4, we are at a juncture where it's about merit, positions, choices, and who can help create the best future for all the residents of District 4.
Well, I do think that you should endorse the only woman who's currently serving on the board of supervisors. And I think you should do more, because the research shows that it's not until there are 30% of leadership positions held by women that you get the kind of balanced decision-making that makes a company great, an institution great, a government function well. What happens is that women tend to listen, they tend to collaborate, to problem solve, and women think about the consequences. They think towards the future and in making decisions. And that's the kind of decision-making we need on the Board of Supervisors. Right now, with me being the only female, 1 out of 5, that's 20%. We don't have to get to 50%, which would be fair, considering that women make up half the population. We only have to get to 30% to really change the quality of decision-making on the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Donahue, we'll start with you. Again, another 1-minute question. Monterey County government has repeatedly come under criticism for lack of transparency. What steps would you take to increase transparency in government?
There's a lot of discussion about transparency as it should be the end. The reality is transparency should be a means, part of the process, and a given. I'm more focused on engagement. So one of the things I would be promoting would be an annual Congress or an annual meeting of all my commissioners in a public session. I will commit upon taking office a published 4-year schedule of town hall meetings. I think it's terribly important to meet routinely and quarterly with the key stakeholders in the district and in the county, mayors, union, labor, veterans. Transparency is an important thing, but it should be a given, not the end.
Transparency is one of the issues that I've been working on since the day I took office. My first day in office, I asked the clerk to make the county supervisors' agendas available on the website. When I took office, that was not the case. If you wanted a copy of the agenda or materials, you had to go to the clerk's office to get it. So we've come a long way, baby. So that was my first day. And by the way, as Mr. Miller alluded to, this is Sunshine Week, so this is on a lot of people's minds. Recently, we directed the county staff to have put those materials on the agenda 96 hours before the board meeting. The legal requirement is 72 hours. That gives the public more time. Our website is much more searchable than it was. I'm the only supervisor who meets regularly with constituents. I have a meeting nearly every Monday evening to go over the agenda for the next day. And I think that's important, and to encourage people to know what's going on and to be involved.
One of my three issues is with transparency, and with transparency with the water issue in Monterey County and transparency throughout the county. I think it's important that we poll the citizens of the people and hear their voices, ask for suggestions, make subcommittees with groups and subcommittees with local people that are going to help us with the results that we want to see. We need a more transparent policies in terms of the supervisors so that people are aware of what's going on in communities. I walk doors, and when I walk door to door and knock on people's door and I say, I'm Alex Miller and I'm running for District 4 Supervisor, they say, what is that? And that is common answer that I get, and they say, who's the incumbent, who serves the position now? And I spend 5 more minutes explaining the position. I don't think that's how it should be. I think that everybody should know who Supervisor Parker is, everybody should know the supervisors, and there should be more transparency. People, their citizens of this community should be more involved, and there's ways to strategize to get them more involved, and we're not taking those steps. We need to take those steps.
Now, this is a 1-minute question for Supervisor Parker. To begin, do you have any proposals to stimulate economic development in Monterey County?
1 minute, no?
What our economic development director,
Take two. Take two.
what our economic development director tells us as he's working with cities and organizations throughout the county is that there are 2 issues that are challenging when looking at economic development. One is that we don't have the workforce that excites people to come to this area and invest in bringing their businesses here. In addition, we don't have sufficient or the right kind of housing that the people who would take these good-paying career track jobs want to live in. This gets back to the need to build these walkable, mixed-use communities with the kinds of housing units that are smaller. We've been building 3- and 4-bedroom houses. Well, if you're a family, that's great. But if you're a single person or just married, you need a different kind of housing stock, and we have not been building those. So I think we really need to lay the infrastructure for the kind of economic development that we need. In addition, though, there's some very practical things. For instance, one of the things that I really worked hard on was closing a loophole in the local hiring policy in Monterey County. The contractors who were coming in and building in our area were bringing workers from outside the area. Even though we had a local hire ordinance, they found a loophole through that. We've closed that loophole now, and so just making sure that the jobs that the work that exists here is going to the people who live here is just a fundamental, unsexy, but very important step to take.
Economic growth in this county could be exponential, or it could be a slow rate, or it could be not at all. We need to be in the middle of that, and we need to be economic growth in and around Fort Ord at a steady pace that makes sense. And it makes sense with water, it makes sense with population, and it makes sense. We, as the county, has incorporated several policies that I don't agree with. For example, the $44 billion medical marijuana industry that the county refuses to discuss in light of medical marijuana and the patients. That's a $44 billion industry. We see economic growth in Denver. We see economic growth in different areas with these kind of initiatives. Thinking strategically and thinking outside the box, we can get economic growth and employ more people in the Monterey Bay. An example in investing into the university and investing into our universities, the community college and the university here, and getting economic growth out of those students and have them stay in our area and have them be productive members of our society and have them stimulate our economy. Developing Fort Ord is a really, really important part to the District 4, and we do not need to take this lightly. This is a very serious topic. If we have too much growth, we will have a surplus of housing. If we don't have enough growth, we won't be stimulating the economy like we should be. We need, as the supervisors, need to think of being more creative, thinking outside the box instead of the rut that they're in now. And we're not thinking in reasonable terms of economic growth. We're thinking exponential or none at all. And as I sit here in the middle today in this room, I lay in the middle in this issue, and I want economic growth, but I want it to be steady, and I want it to be reasonable. And again, when reason, I mean have enough resources for water, have enough resources for our children, and have enough resources in our schools. Because once we develop, we must have adequate schools so that our kids are taken care of, and they're not being taken care of now.
The county needs to be a better partner with the cities. We need to have a greater sense of urgency around infrastructure, traditional and innovative, such as dark fiber. We need to frame the pursuit of economic activity around how do we attract business, keep what we have. Nobody should take for granted what we currently have. And we need to strategically pursue new industries I suggested 3 earlier. The other thing we need to do is create a more attractive environment for entrepreneurial activity. You're starting to see things like the Western Growers Innovation Center spring up, organizations like Digital Nest. There's a lot of entrepreneurial activity trying to break out, and we need to support that, whether it's marine sciences, whether it's the veteran community. So an entrepreneurial culture needs to be promoted and cultivated. We need to have a more robust workforce development strategy, whether it's apprentice programs for the unions, but there also needs to be a mental component to that. Coding is the way of the future for STEM, high-paying jobs, and that's not limited to young people. Veterans also take readily to those types of activities, so it's for all ages. The last thing we need to do is really think about a culture of innovation. I have really become, the reality is we need to prepare to succeed. The simple fact is the Silicon Valley will look south, but the way it will come this time, it will not be paving things over because it will be more R&D based, think tank based. So we've got to get ready to make sure we have the right quality of life. I hear about our workforce too, but the simple fact is a reverse commute south works fine and is better than a commute from Morgan Hill to Mountain View. And the reality is in the Silicon Valley, they're looking for 20-something. So that means we need to get our young workforce ready now to succeed and meet opportunity as it meets us in the next couple of years.
Thank you, and now it's time for closing statements, and we'll go in reverse order and start with you, Supervisor Parker. You each have 1 minute.
Well, again, I want to thank the Democratic Central Committee for this opportunity. Great questions. I just want to say, as I said at the beginning, I'm proud of the work that I have been doing and the accomplishments and the progress that I've made to make the quality of life better in the whole county and in District 4. We're not done yet. We have water issues to focus on, obviously the affordable housing, violence prevention, and the whole question of how to have Fort Ord fulfill the vision of the base reuse plan of vibrant, walkable communities with a jobs, housing balance, and connected to trails. Part of what is a fantastic opportunity there and that is a real economic stimulus is the fact that we are connected to trails, and it's an opportunity for the residents of Seaside and Marina and Salinas who have lower than the national average of park space to have their access to a marvelous outside environment.
I hope by now I have made my point clear that I am running on 3 issues. We need to reduce crime in this county. It is an absolute must. Living in Seaside, there are often times I don't feel safe in my own home. And if I don't feel safe, then I'm going to run for County Board of Supervisor and make a change. We need to reduce the crime in our county. We need to make the water board the water issues and policies more transparent. If we just build houses on Fort Ord, we will have the exact same result that we have right now. We have to be very careful with new development, and we need to be responsible, and we need to put parks and stuff for our youth to keep out of gangs and out of crime. We need to have parks, playgrounds, sports activities, sports leagues, and things that our youth can do to thrive. We also need to invest in the students in this area and take the students and improve their skills and so that they are productive members of workforce. We don't want them to drive to the Bay Area. We want them to have jobs right here in Monterey Bay.
I've spent a lot of time in District 4 over the last year. The needs and desires of the residents of District 4 are not currently being represented on the board. I will provide that representation. I have 6 years of experience as a political leader on a local, regional, and national basis with demonstrated outcomes on the priorities when I was in office. Could we make progress economically? Could we work towards becoming a safer community? And those efforts were validated by third parties, such as the California League of Cities, and I'd say this proudly, Salinas' selection as an All-American City with 2 out of the 3 projects being initiatives that began while I was the mayor. It was an honor to serve the residents, or serve Salinas and the residents of District 4 as the mayor of Salinas, and I'd be honored to have that opportunity again in the future.
Thank you to the candidates, Ms. Parker, Mr. Miller, Mr. Donahue. We're going to take 5 minutes to swap out. We have candidate Dave Potter and Mary Adams here. And for those of you who are tracking what's going on around the country, there's Democrats winning everywhere. Right now we have Hillary taking Ohio and Florida, Bernie ahead in Missouri, and Hillary ahead in Illinois and North Carolina. So that's current. I'm not going to talk about Trump, so you have to tune into some other channel for that.